Saludos a toda la afición de la lucha libre. Este que les habla es Michael Morales Torres, integrante del equipo de Lucha Libre Online. Y tenemos el enorme privilegio de presentarles a nuestro invitado en la noche de hoy, directamente desde Estados Unidos para el mundo, el 10 veces campeón mundial en pareja de WCW, ex campeón de la televisión de WCW y el integrante del Salón de la Fama de la WWE, Stevie Ray. Sir, it is such an honor for us to have you here as our guest. How are you doing today?
Very good, sir. Very good.
Glad to know you're doing well. We wanted to start this interview asking you, how did your passion for pro wrestling start? And I mean, which was the match, the wrestler, or the rivalry that engaged you enough to do this for the rest of your life?
I kind of like fell into professional wrestling, kind of like on a dare, so trying something out, never knew that everything was going to become what it actually became. So, I was always a fan, but I never thought I'd be doing it.
I'm going to translate that to Spanish. Él menciona que cuando ingresa a la lucha libre por primera vez no esperaba que esto fuese a ser tan grande. Ingresa como un fanático, pero jamás en la vida pensó que iba a alcanzar tanto éxito. And speaking of that success you achieved during your whole career, how did you arrive to WCW along with Booker T? Who gave you guys the first opportunity?
Actually, WCW had been watching us for quite some time. That we learned after we got Sid Vicious came and kind of vouched for us. He came and kind of helped us out in Galaxy and WCW, but they had been looking at us for a while. But Sid was like, I'm going to go down here and look at these guys and see what they got and put the good word in for us.
So I'm going to translate that to Spanish. La persona que obviamente WCW llevaba tiempo poniéndoles el ojo, viendo que ellos estaban haciendo constantemente, pero Sid Vicious fue la persona que inicialmente los puso en una palabra buena, vamos a decirlo de esa manera, que habló bien de ellos y trató de llevarlos allá, y de esa manera es que llegan tanto Booker T como Stevie Ray. Who came up with the initial idea of pairing yourself and Booker as Harlem Heat, the hottest tag team in the history of WCW?
Well, we got put together in Global when we were wrestling in Global Wrestling. We had been there for a couple of years, and that's where they saw us at. And Eddie Gilbert actually made us a tag team, and that's how we became a tag team. We had no desire to be a tag team at that time, but Eddie Gilbert thought we'd be a good tag team, so that's where it all came from.
Perfect. Eddie Gilbert fue la persona quien viene con la idea en Global de convertir a Booker T y a Stevie Ray en un equipo, en un tag team. Ellos no estaban interesados en aquel momento dado en ser un equipo, pero Eddie Gilbert es quien viene con la idea y lo compran y fueron muy exitosos. Along with Booker, you won 10 World Tag Team Championships in WCW as part of, as mentioned before, Harlem Heat, the hottest tag team in the history of WCW. What was your favorite moment during your career as a tag team?
That's a good question because I don't know. That's a good question. We had so many, man. I've been asked this before, and I've never been able to answer it because everything was like a whirlwind, man, because actually, I don't know my greatest moment in WCW, but in Global, we were 3-4-time champs in Global. The first time we ever won the belts in Global, I can remember that like it was yesterday. Everything else after that, it was kind of just, it was almost like it was supposed to happen, so totally different. I don't know. My brother might say something else, but in my mind, I just remember the first time we got into the big time, we won the tag team champions in Global, and I remember that till the day I die.
Okay, I'm going to translate that to Spanish. Menciona que yo le hago la pregunta de cuál es su momento favorito de Harlem Heat y me dice que es bien difícil responderlo porque ocurrieron muchas cosas, pero hay un momento en particular que recuerda y es cuando con su hermano ganan el primer campeonato mundial en parejas en Global anterior a llegar a WCW, y ese es el momento que en particular a él le marcó. El resto pues estaba destinado a ocurrir por su talento colectivo. After Harlem Heat broke, you joined the NWO version of NWO Hollywood, while while the brand was split at that point. Who took the decision of using you as a singles heel competitor when you were on a babyface tag team? And how was your experience while working with specifically Hulk Hogan?
I don't know who idea it was. I don't know, man. Let me think. I don't know. You just come to work sometime and people tell you, well, this is what's going to be going on now. And, okay. You just do it, man. But working with those guys, we had a good time, man. That was a very good time.
Menciona que no recuerda específicamente cómo fue que llegó a NWO Hollywood, pero que sí la pasó bien. Simplemente alguien del equipo creativo le entregó la idea y el resto es historia. In 2000, you made a different transition in your career as a color commentator role at that point. Who took the decision of, moving you from being an active pro wrestler as a performer while you were still on your prime to being, a commentator, and how difficult was made in the transition?
Well, the transition wasn't hard for me once I got immaculated to everything that was going on, because a lot of people don't realize I wanted to go into working in radio and stuff like that when I was just getting out of high school. So I was used to being in front of a microphone. I used to DJ in clubs and things of that nature. So going back to that, whose idea was, I didn't find out till about 3 years ago who idea it was, because I was told one thing. I was told I was going to have to audition. They was looking for wrestlers to audition for color commentator and an analyst. And my name was on the list. I'm a wrestler, bro. I mean, what the hell my name doing on the list, dog? So I remember I had to leave Salt Lake City, go to Atlanta, to the studios for the audition. Then they told me, no, they got everything at the building. So I got to drive to the building because I'm supposed to have been off tonight. It's a Monday night. And they told me to look for Vince Russo. So I go to look for Vince. I'm dressed nice. Finally find Vince walking with a lot of people around. You know how live shows are. People running around with their heads cut off. And I finally see Vince, and I'm like, hey, Vince, what do we do the audition? What do I go to do the audition? Then he tells me, well, there is no audition. So I'm like, ooh, wow, I'll go catch a flight home, He said, there is no audition, but you start tonight.
Oh, shit.
So I'm like, you got to realize something. I don't know any angles is what everybody, I'm just concentrating on what I do. I don't know, like you, Mr. Morales, whoever you're in an angle with, I don't know. It could change from week to week. 3 weeks ago, you might have been doing this. Now you come out doing this. Well, how am I a commentator about something I don't even know what you're doing? So 3 years ago, I found out I'm doing a podcast with Vince Russo, and Disco Inferno told the writers, if you guys want a person that can do color, you need to get Stevie Ray. That's how it happened. Now, I don't know if you can get all that in Spanish, but
I will
do your best.
I will get it in Spanish. Stevie Ray, la transición de color commentator, de luchador a color commentator, ocurre en el año 2000 y él estaba en Salt Lake City, en Utah. De repente le toca ir a Atlanta, al otro lado del mundo, porque de repente había una lista de comentaristas nuevas que estaban buscando y estaba el nombre de Stevie Ray. Entonces llega a Atlanta para la audición y empieza a buscar a Vince Russo por los pasillos y empieza a buscar a Vince Russo. No encuentra a Vince Russo. De repente encuentra a Vince Russo en el pasillo, en el hall, y Vince Russo dice que no hay audición. Ok, perfecto, no hay audición, qué bueno. Si tienes el papel, tú vas a ser comentarista y empiezas hoy. You're going to start today. Y él se queda como que, pero qué rayos, yo no he tenido entrenamiento propio, yo no he tenido ninguna oportunidad, yo no sé las historias de nadie, yo no sé qué pasó hace 2 semanas, yo estoy pendiente a mi trabajo, pero yo no tengo tiempo de mantenerme al tanto de todo. Entonces fue algo bien loco porque comenzó el mismo día que simplemente lo contrataron y el resto es historia. Fue el comentarista de WCW por un periodo prolongado de tiempo. Let's talk about the backstage ambience, like in general in WCW between co-workers. I mean, it was at that point like a big family. But do you consider that could be any like ego problems, at least under your experience? How was your experience, backstage between the co-workers, the pro wrestlers, the writers? Do you had any problem with someone?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I had my own business before I got into the wrestling business. So I approach things from a business point of view. As far as all that ego bullshit that went down with different people, you know what I'm saying, and so on and so forth, I got along with everybody. At least I went out of my way to try to get along with everybody. Now, there's a few people that people know I've done podcasts about and people know that I don't really care for. But that's any job. That has nothing to do with professional wrestling. That's just, certain people clash, So other than that, WCW was never ran like the big business it was. A lot of times it was ran like a small outlaw operations from the mental standpoint. So many times, because it's too many times that the people that are working, the wrestlers, have too much input on what should go on the show. Whereas it's only a few Tom Cruises in the world that can go to a director and say, I don't know if I like this. Only a few. So most of us, the workers, we're just being told what to do. Let somebody else do this. We can put our input in, but just calling your own shots. Once it got to that, people calling their own angles, going into business for themselves, it was bound to fail. And that's what you saw.
I'm going to translate that to Spanish. Le pregunto sobre el ambiente backstage, sobre los compañeros, los problemas de ego. Stevie Ray siempre fue profesional. Él ya tenía negocio antes de comenzar en la industria de la lucha libre, pero posteriormente llega y siempre de manera profesional, nunca tuvo problemas con nadie, pero sí obviamente había personas que tenían problemas allá atrás. Él menciona algo muy importante y es que había muy pocas personas que lo describe como Tom Cruise yendo a donde el director de la película. Son muy pocas personas quienes tenían ese poder, el resto simplemente eran trabajadores que le daban lo que hacer y ya, pero que entonces él entendía que por la manera en que estaban operando, que nunca operaron con una mentalidad de hacer algo tan grande, estaba destinado a fracasar. What do you think was the key to success of WCW's like early success in the Monday Night Wars? You guys were really successful. You kicked WWF's ass for so many weeks straight. So under your experience as a talent, as a creative, as a commentator, as the multiple roles you've been involved in the pro wrestling, what do you think was the key of WCW's success in the early Monday Night Wars?
Because everybody was on the same page. I think everybody was on the same page and everybody was actually, shooting for the same goal, is to make the company and the show the best we could possibly make it. Now, with that being said, you started to get certain guys to start to come in. I'm not going to call any names, but that other guys that was on top didn't want to work with, but should have been working with. Then you got guys looking out for their buddies as it pertains to the show. And it doesn't look good, and they don't care. You know why? Because it ain't your money. If it was your money, I bet you would care. But at the end of the day, when you can get away with, what I call inverted nepotism, then you're going to have other guys look at that and go, really? I bust my ass for this much and this guy gets to blah, blah, blah. Those kind of things start to happen. I start to see a lot of that.
So I'm going to translate that to Spanish. ¿Cuál era la clave de las victorias tempranas del Monday Night Wars? Todo el mundo estaba trabajando junto. todo el mundo estaba en el mismo page, en la misma página, todo el mundo remaba al mismo lado hasta que comenzaron a llegar personas de afuera. Dice, no voy a mencionar el nombre, pero había ciertas personas que lo que hacían era cuidar de sus amigos en lugar de cuidar del producto, en lugar de cuidar del programa. Entonces, como era su dinero, it wasn't their money, nadie le importaba. Simplemente le importaba traer su gente y olvidarse del resto. I'm also going to say something in Spanish to our Spanish-speaking fans. Stevie Ray tiene su producto Stevie Ray TV en su canal de YouTube, Stevie Ray TV. Durante todos los días tiene entrevistas, tiene programas de análisis, está constantemente compartiendo. En estos días tuvo a Debra, por darte un ejemplo. En Instagram lo puedes conseguir de igual manera como The Real Stevie Ray en Instagram. Lo puedes conseguir en Twitch como Stevie Ray TV, YouTube Stevie Ray TV, patreon.com/Stevie Ray TV, patreon.com/Stevie Ray TV. Y para los bookings a todos los promotores de Puerto Rico, de Honduras, de Chile, de Argentina, de todas las partes del mundo que quieran adquirir los servicios de Stevie Ray en calidad de luchador, en calidad de consultor, simplemente para una firma de autógrafos, para lo que ustedes quieran, consúltenlo a través de su correo electrónico, Stevie Ray _911 @yahoo.com, Stevie Ray _911 @yahoo.com. Before we go, I wanted to talk with you about how do you started this project that is getting bigger and bigger every time. Talk to us about Stevie Ray TV. I mean, we saw you recently with wrestlers like Debra and many other people. You're discussing multiple topics. So how did Stevie Ray, I mean, you always wished to work in radio, you work as a commentator, you have the voice and everything. But I mean, what motivated you to start this project on your own?
Well, actually, for the last few years, I've been working on the radio, and I work on radio now. 95.3 Jams, the Stevie Ray Experience, every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central. You can go to Intune and watch that, but we are getting a app made where people can watch multiple shows, download stuff, so on and so forth. But as of right now, I do that every Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m., the Stevie Ray Experience, 95.3 Jams. So with all that being said, I used to work at a couple of other radio stations here in town in Houston, Texas, of which I live. And I've been reliving things that I always wanted to do as a young man, you know, that I never got a chance to do. But it still keeps me at the entertainment world where I don't have to take bumps. So it still keeps me in the entertainment world. And I started doing a podcast a few years ago called Stand Up for Greatness. People can look at a lot of that stuff still on YouTube. But then I wanted to do something different. And that's when I started what I'm doing right now, Straight Shooting with Stevie Ray, the world's most dangerous podcast. As you can see, I'm in my dungeon right now. And it gives me a chance to talk about some of the things I want to talk about as it pertains to professional wrestling, as it pertains to acting, as it pertains to MMA, boxing, and everything across the board, because I'm kind of multifaceted when it comes to certain things and certain people. So it gives me a chance to go do some of the things and talk to some of the people in different avenues, which I've always wanted to do. And so that's what I started doing, man. I'm having a lot of fun doing it, man.
Gonna translate that to Spanish. Stevie Ray está trabajando en radio ahora mismo, 95.3 Jams, el Stevie Ray Experience, de 2 a 4 de la tarde. Todos los sábados lo pueden encontrar ahí en la aplicación que ya pronto está en proceso. Ya pronto van a tener la aplicación para ver el contenido, pero pueden ir directamente al website de 95.3 Jams. Tiene sus proyectos, Stevie Ray TV, en donde habla de todo un poco, MMA, lucha libre, actuación, de todo un poco, con todo tipo de invitados. Siempre le ha gustado, está viviendo su sueño de niño y está más motivado que nunca a continuar con este increíble proyecto. Así que Stevie Ray TV en YouTube, en Twitch, The Real Stevie Ray en Instagram, lo pueden conseguir de igual manera, patreon.com/Stevie Ray TV. Last but not least, sir, first of all, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you being here with us today. How do you felt after so many years in the pro wrestling industry? You were finally honored in the maximum stage, in the ultimate stage, the WWE Hall of Fame. How do you felt being inducted along with your partner Booker T as part of Harlem Heat?
Oh man, unbelievable, unreal. Caught me off guard, but very appreciative, and it's good to know And it's nice to know that the fans and your peers actually recognize that you actually left a residual in the business that you love so much. So I think that's what I appreciated. That's what I appreciated about it, because, you know, the fans never forget, man. It's like, to this day, I still get people, you know, hitting me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, still tell me, man, I was a kid watching those matches and I just wanted to see how much joy you brought to my life, man. That's crazy. It's just crazy, man. So then, like you say, the ultimate recognition for what you did, WWE Hall of Fame. I guess that cements my career, bro.
I'm going to translate that statement to Spanish. La última meta de todo luchador es llegar al Salón de la Fama de la WWE. Este caballero pudo hacerlo como parte de Harlem Heat y él no lo esperaba, pero siempre recibía mensajes de todo el mundo. Nadie olvida a Stevie Ray, nadie olvida a Booker T, nadie olvida a Harlem Heat, y ser reconocido por sus propios compañeros luchadores, ser reconocido por los fanáticos y ser reconocido obteniendo ese máximo logro por el legado y trayectoria que han tenido, simplemente es una experiencia increíble. Es uno de los pocos que ha podido estar en el Salón de la Fama y claro está, estamos muy orgullosos de eso. Stevie Ray, as mentioned before, more than honored to have you here in Lucha Libre Online's podcast. Hell, Hall of Famer Stevie Ray is not any single person. It's WWE Hall of Famer Stevie Ray, 10-time WCW World Tag Team Champion, WCW Television Champion. Sir, more than honored to have you as our guest. Always wishing you the best of luck in your projects, and thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.